A while ago, I read Hillbilly Elegy, a book about the Appalachian Mountains, which is actually where I grew up. And so I don't know if people are just weird and they can't get enough about defining where they come from, or if they're just curious about things have changed and the history of your hometown, where you grew up, what made you, what built you as a human being. But regardless, I was very intrigued to read that book as it was so popular. But people said that they felt that it did a lot of damage. Now, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. But I did read that book and I did enjoy it. And I wanted to seek out a different point of view from a different writer and someone who had a different take on what it was like for them to grow up in the Appalachian Mountains. So I turned to this book, which just came out this year from Random House. It is called Hill Women. It is by a woman named Cassie Chambers. Cassie? Probably Cassie, and how she went from a small county in Kentucky to going to Ivy League schools, seeing the world, and becoming a lawyer. Her experience looking back on her childhood as a sort of memoir, and also looking back on some of her adult career choices that led her to go back to her home area, not her home place exactly, but that region, back to Kentucky, and serve the lower income families there, and how that work has sort of changed and made her consider different options about a way forward from how much things have changed. Because if you don't know, I'm gonna give you like the tiniest little situation here, okay? So in the mountains, and this is a huge region, I'll try to like pop a picture up on Google Maps or something. It's a very big region. It spans multiple states. I grew up in Virginia. This is in Kentucky. If you're not from the US, they're close, okay? And I think Hillbilly Elegy, where was he? I don't remember what state he was in. Somewhere around here though, that's the point. You're talking about a really unique culture that is often mischaracterized, misunderstood, and extremely hard to explain to an outsider because it can be so contradictory. People are really kind, but they're also harsh. People are, it's just, you can't get a compliment without being insulted, which we like to do. Like it makes sense to us, but it's confusing, I think, to other people. And when all you're getting is sort of like the Hollywood or stereotypical versions of what that is, I think it's confusing for people. And I think there's been an interest in exploring this again, especially as the socio-political climate has changed, and this area is one of the areas in the US that had a lot of industry, and that industry has ended for one reason or another. And that's something that she talks about in this book, is how the loss of jobs and industry and the loss of a small town life as more people move to the city and the world becomes more urbanized, that you are losing something in these small towns and that it can be detrimental. I think the interest for people is cultural. I think it's understanding a way forward and understanding a mindset that is really difficult to explain. I don't feel like anyone's really doing it justice. I feel like in Hill Women, she really talks about women specifically, like we're like tougher women, I guess, than some people, I don't know, some people are, and kind of respecting that drive of hard work that you so often find in the mountains. I think what interests people is the culture, the mindset, trying to understand that from an outsider's point of view, and understanding how we can use the knowledge and understanding of that as a way to find pathways forward in these more sheltered regions of the US. You'll notice in the subtitle that it says Finding Family and a Way Forward. The premise of this book is that she is hoping to find something through all of this memoir making and sort of going down memory lane that will give her a solution, give her a way to go forward and just improve things and find a new path for these people. And while she does propose some ideas, even at the end of the book, she admits that she thought that this would give her an answer, and yet she is still answerless. So I did appreciate the candor there, but I just wish that the book wouldn't have been presented as finding solutions, as finding a way forward. If that's not really where we ended up, I wish it had just been classed as a memoir and nothing further. Writing style-wise, I did appreciate her flow. It was very easy to get into. It's not overbearing as so many memoirs are. She kind of gets the point across. She explains her family members to you in a very nice, welcoming way. And she is not necessarily painting a rose-tinted picture, and she's not lying either. She's also not being too harsh or too mean, which I guess some people that's what they thought about Hillbilly Elegy. I think she has a sort of middle ground where she's being honest, but being graceful about that honesty. Some things that I did not like about this book was how it got so political towards the end. We went so far in this book without it going political one way or the other. And then unfortunately for me, it did get political one way or the other towards the end, which I get it. It's a memoir. You're allowed to do what you're allowed to do, but it just felt a little bit out of left field and didn't offer any real proposed solutions. It just talked about it as a solution, but without going into enough detail, I felt. But that might be a personal preference. I don't really like politics to be involved in things, because if they are, I feel like it should be this is what they thought, this is what they thought, and then the reader should be allowed to sort of make their own interpretations. I get that this is a memoir, but it just felt a little out of left field, and I personally didn't like it. Whether or not that's fair to include in a book review, I don't know, but I'm letting you know in case you are similarly minded to me. The other thing I didn't like about this book was a sort of, I don't know how to put this in a nice-ish way, but I will say that you can't offer a solution to something and look down your nose at it. And I did feel like there was a bit of my way is better and a sort of unappreciation for the old-fashioned ways of the mountains, because that is really what it is. It's almost like a world that's 20 years in the past in a lot of ways. And I think that that's a good quality in a lot of ways, and I don't know why people would look down at that. But I do feel like, whether intentional or not, there was an attitude that urbanization is better and that's the only way forward, and I just did not agree with that. And I didn't agree with the sort of inherent snobbery that attitude implies, which is that, her way, the modern way, is the only way. So that's just me. I do feel like it's more difficult to review books like this that are sort of close to home and therefore close to your heart in a lot of ways, because you cannot help but take some things personally, and that's kind of, it's kind of what happened to me, I guess, is that I think I took some things a little too close to heart that I shouldn't have, but I think you want your home to be represented in an honest way, and there's definitely good and bad things about every place, and I just want one book about my region to just get it right. I just want one, so I'm gonna keep looking. But yeah, I think for me this was a 3-star book, because while the writing style was very nice, the flow was very nice, she did her memoir section very well. I think structurally, towards the conclusion, she lost the way a little bit, which she admitted to. She admitted that there was no real conclusion, but that doesn't make it necessarily good. Still an interesting read. If you're curious about that region, I wouldn't not recommend it. But yeah, that's where I ended up on this one, kind of a middle of the road. If you liked this video, give it a quick thumbs up before you go. Drop a comment below if you're going to read this one or pass on it. If you're new here and you haven't subscribed yet, but you like all things bookish, then go ahead, press that subscribe button, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.